Guys, welcome to Better Bachelor. My name is Joker with a face for radio and a voice for print. Today I wanted to talk about a Reddit post, and thank you to the locals person that posted this on the forums, because a lot of really interesting stories and article grabs make their way there, because instead of just my eyes trying to find something, we've got, a lot of people that are supporters there that find stuff that I find relevant. What I wanted to talk about today is a woman tries a dating app as a man with interesting results. I didn't want to put shocking results. I don't like putting thumbnails up there with kind of clickbait titles, even though it might garner me more views. And the reason why it's not shocking is because this is something we know. I've done other videos on this, and other things out there exist to where, it's not surprising. But it's a Reddit post. And, every once in a while when I do these, I get pushback from people saying, hey, man, how do you believe it? People make up stuff all the time on the internet. Yeah, so does, legit news. I don't know. I've seen plenty of stories on Fox and CNN and MSNBC and NBC and ABC that get proven to be false. So how do you not believe somebody that makes a one-off account, throws up an article, and because what do they have to gain out of it? They're not making any money. It's a one-off account because they don't want their real name to be known. I'm almost more in line to believe somebody that posts this than some of the mainstream news we see. But I wanted to talk about it because, again, it just goes to show you that women have no idea what men are encountering, because women think that, well, men just, sleep around and they use women and they're bad and they cycle through women, and they still refuse to understand they're looking at the top 5 or 10% of guys out there. That there are a lot of guys that are just your average everyday bloke that they're invisible. So this woman writes, I, a 33-year-old female, helped my brother, a 31-year-old male, with dating apps, and now I'm bummed out. She says, throwaway account. I have too many friends on my original account. She said, I, 33 female, decided to help my brother, 31 male, with online dating apps, OLD, she says. He's been struggling with dating and OLD apps for 3 years now, and parents are concerned about his mental health. Now, obviously, if you're a guy that's around 30-ish and maybe you're thinking about love or a longer-term relationship, or maybe you'd just like to get out there and date some, to the point where even his parents are noticing. She said, so I invited him to stay with me for a couple of weeks and told him that I would help him, quote, fix his dating app profiles, as I was certain that he was doing something wrong. He half-heartedly agreed and brought a second phone that I could use. So obviously he half-heartedly agrees because he's like, it's not going to do any good anyway. There's not really nothing wrong with it. It's just it's not working for me. And again, like most women think, he must be doing something wrong. Maybe his photos aren't very good. I'm a woman. I know what a dating app should look like. I know what a profile should look like. I know what's interesting, so I'll help him with it. She said he's 6 foot tall and 165 pounds. So he's not a big guy, obviously. He's relatively on the, I won't say thin side, but he's certainly not a big guy. And he's 6 foot tall. That's what all the women want, apparently. And she says he has moderately good looks. Okay, so he's at least average. She said he has a stable job, which he makes good money. I set up his account on Tinder and Bumble and completed his profile, description, etc. on his second phone. I also swiped and initially chatted with some of the women who matched with a profile. My aim was to show him how to talk to women to keep them interested in him, because his main complaint was that they never respond. I thought of sending the first few messages and then letting him continue the conversation. It has been 2 weeks now. My experience has been utter garbage. Nobody wants to have a conversation. I don't quite understand why. Maybe I am doing something wrong. Now, you notice, first of all, she says, I'm a woman. I talk to guys on dating apps all the time. I know how to have a good conversation. The guys always seem to reply to me and talk to me, so I'll show you how to make yourself interesting. But what she's not seeing here, and again, she just doesn't understand, women are not responsive. They do not normally have a conversation. It's the guy that needs to try to continue to keep the conversation going. He's got to be funny and interesting and set himself apart from others and be unique. And even if he does that, if she finds a guy that's hotter or more interesting or makes more money, she just evaporates. And when you used to date, when I was a young joker or a younger joker, when you used to date, what you do is you might go down to the local pub if you were over age, but if not, whether in college or you'd go to maybe college frat parties or something like that, or you'd go to sporting events, but it was all local. The internet they had just started LAN gaming, local area network gaming. There was no internet, or if it was just professors sending emails back and forth to each other to get it first going. So everything that, as a matter of fact, if you wanted to get a hold of somebody, you had a pager, and having a pager was a big deal. A little box, for those of you that are under the age of 8 million like I am, little box you wear on your hip, and someone dials your pager number, and then they punch in their phone number or leave not a voice message. They can punch in a numerical number, and then your hip buzzes, and there's a number, and that's all you know, is somebody that has your pager number wants to talk to you, and you have to dial this number, and you'd go find a payphone, drop in a quarter, call them up, and see what's going on. And you'd give different codes, like 411 means somebody needs, so they punch in their phone number in 411, and that means, I need some information from you, because 411 is the phone number for information. Or they'd say 911 emergency. And then if you're, dating and you were smooth about it, you'd say like punch in 1 if you want to hang out, punch in 2 if you want to hook up, that kind of thing. So the people that you interacted with were small. They were just small groups of local people that lived right in your immediate area. And when I mean immediate, within a couple of miles. And that was it. That's it. And also, because that group was a little bit smaller, you know who the easy girls were. You know who the prudes were that wouldn't put out and wanted a long-term relationship. You know the guys that were players. You know the guys that were jerks. You know the guys. You knew a little bit about people that were on the extremes. Now, if you're just an average guy, no one really knew anything about you. But now, with the dating profiles of today, you can match with somebody on the other side of the world if you wanted to. But what's happening is people have cars, they have jobs, they're out in the adulting world. And because of the internet and these dating apps, the dating circle has gone from 1 or 2, maybe 3, 4, 5 miles. They've blown up to 20, 30, 40 miles, maybe even further. There's many examples of men losing their wives and wives losing their husbands to an old flame on a dating profile that's several states away. So what's happened is, because there's so much choice out there, women are skimming through and they're selecting the best of the best of the best. And the player guys that are the best of the best of the best don't settle down and just sleep around. And you guys know this, I talk about it, but that's what's going on. And she doesn't see it because the guys that she's interacting with are good-looking guys. She's being very selective about it, and I think she gets into that. She says, I feel bummed out, probably because all these years I kept telling him that he was doing something wrong. I always thought that only rude, broke, obese, unhygienic, and bad-looking men sucked at dating apps and others had a fair chance. Well, I was in for a rude awakening. This is what I experienced. Again, if you're average, it's becoming more and more likely that you don't have a chance. She said hardly any responses from his matches. Women just don't want to have anything to do with him. This was perhaps what affected me the most. I watched in despair as matches just kept expiring. Sometimes they would stop after a few messages, and other times they wouldn't even send a message or a reply. I have used Bumble and Tinder myself. Men don't do this. 90% of men respond to the first message. This is worse than getting a spicy picture, which has happened to me a few times. At least the person on the other side wants you, even if it is just for sex. Imagine being ignored like a piece of trash. That's what it felt like. 90% of the matches never initiated the conversation or responded to the first message. How's he supposed to get a date when there are no responses from the other side? Now, you guys know this is an ongoing thing, and I know this firsthand because it happened to me while I was on dating apps as well. You'd find somebody that you're like, because let's face it, the super hot chicks that want to talk to you, those are bots or catfishers or something else. So you'd say, hey, I find somebody, she's all right. Like, she's okay. I'll at least talk to her and see what she's about. And maybe she's super cool or super fun or something like that. And so you'd match with somebody that you're like, it's all right. And you try to send an interesting or a funny or a unique message, and like tumbleweed blows across your profile, like no response at all. Or if you do, you get the 1 word or 2 word response. It's like dragging a coffin out of a grave. Like, you have to do so much work just to keep a conversation going. And then if they find somebody that's hotter or more interesting, because again, women are flooded with interest on these things, that's it. You're gone. You're done. She said, very poor quality matches, very poor quality matches. Yeah, we know. Trust me, we know. Most women who matched with his profile were nowhere close to his educational qualifications or salary range. In fact, there wasn't even a single match who initiated a conversation that I would say matched his salary and education level. Now notice she focuses on the salary and education level. That's her focus. Men, we don't look at that nearly as much. Guys are like, she doesn't make as much money, but it doesn't matter. I got to be the provider because I'm a dude. And education doesn't matter because a lot of guys that don't have formal education are very, very smart. But her view of it, her eyes look for something different. She's looking for people that are equal on salary and education. Men don't care about that. Men care about bobs and vagin and is she fun and interesting and attractive. She says, I never had this problem on online dating apps. Because she never had that problem because, again, she's shooting for the best. There were loads of men who were either equal or better than me in salary and education. I met my current boyfriend on Bumble, and he makes as much as I do. Right. But remember, the ones that don't meet her current expectations are invisible to her. I bet if you looked at her swiping history, she'd look at a photo and say, nope, 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 nope. Well, each one of those nopes, she's looking at his looks, she's looking at his education, she's looking at his income. Even if she's not overtly drilling down on it, if you pull up an app and you go, he's all right, works at, fast food joint, and he's 23, nah. But that swipe left, that's a guy she just threw away. That's a guy that may be nice, funny, interesting. Maybe he's going through a tough patch. Maybe he's got a part-time job and he doesn't just want to express what his full-time job is. But because when you go, nope, 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 each one of those no's is exactly what's happening to her brother, but she doesn't see the world that way. She only sees the high quality. She says, I don't know why men even go through this. Where's my...
Ding, ding, ding. What do we have for her, Johnny?
That's exactly right. Men should not do this anymore. Men shouldn't. If you're the cream of the crop guy, go ahead. I mean, enjoy the payday that you get on these dating apps. But if you're an average guy, you're wasting your time. And the only way you have an opportunity to even get a chance at it is real world interactions. But here's the thing. You may get her phone number. You might even talk to her a little bit. But a lot of those women will ghost you as well. It's getting to the point now where dating for a lot of men seems to be an immense waste of time, period. And it's not to say that it can't happen, but here's the thing. You have to say, all right, well, I really want this to happen. How do I get a chance at it? Well, if you're tall or you're good looking, maybe you have glasses, get contacts. Maybe if you have a weak chin, grow a beard, hit the gym, lose weight. Make sure to dress nicely, be successful. You got to jump through a whole bunch of hoops. And what are the women doing? I have bobs. Here's some cleavage. Here's me wearing a top and a tight little outfit. And she gets tons of attention. So a man has to jump through a lot of hoops, dedicate a lot of energy, put a lot of focus on this. And that's why when he does get somebody he likes, he usually values that woman much more than she values him. Why? Because if she loses him, there's a lot more guys out there, and they may not be willing to settle down, but they're willing to sleep down. They'll give her the attention and the validation, so her market value in her own head is much higher than it is in real life. She says he seems to be okay with this experience and is holding his own. I don't understand how. It's because men get used to rejection, because even back in my day in the 90s when I was out and about as a young guy, You shot your shot. You went up, you asked a girl out, you tried to get a number, and no, or she laughed at you, or she turned you down. Well, when you do that dozens, then hundreds, then thousands of times, you grow a pretty thick callus to it. You know, I don't know. You hear Wayne Gretzky. You hear it was attributed to Michael Jordan. It's been this quote, which is you miss more shots than, or you miss, what is it? You miss most shots that you take, or maybe it was Jordan that said, I've lost more games than I've won with a buzzer beater shot. But anyway, I messed that all up completely. But the whole point is, right, you're going to miss a lot more shots than you make. And you get used to that. But if you want to still score, you got to take a lot of shots. Well, guys today are realizing I'm taking a lot of shots, but I'm not scoring at all. Or what I'm scoring is so low value and so low quality that I don't want to waste my time even taking the shots anymore. And, you know, the sad part of it is that men are missing out on relationships. The other sad part is women are getting with a lot of guys that are just doing the hookup thing, using them for the bedroom fun and then tossing them aside. And there doesn't seem to be a point where people match or find each other for a, quote, relationship until a woman is advanced into her 30s or feels like, oh, I've had my fun on the market and now I want a guy that is ready to settle down. And the guy's not finding anything until he says, hey, you know what? I'm comfortable now around women. I'm happy in my own skin. I'm used to being alone. I don't necessarily need somebody, so I've focused on my job and doing well for myself. And that's when they seem to find each other. A lot of people will still date at that age and get together. But what's happening is more and more young men are realizing, why does everybody else get her best years, her fun years, her party years, and she only comes to me when it's time to settle down and be serious and buy a house? And that makes a lot of men feel like you ignored me up until you want me for my resources. And again, she doesn't see any of this. And of course he can hold his own because he's a 30-year-old man who's been doing this for years and just getting brushed aside like he's invisible. She says, I don't know. She says, I know we can't change the dating scene much. The least we can do is empathize with the person instead of telling them they are doing something wrong. Okay, but she's the one that told him he was doing something wrong. So she's realizing, okay, I just need to empathize with him. Honestly, I don't even know if I'm doing anything wrong myself. I'm just doing what worked for me. But she's a woman. That's the big difference. She says, I'm going to ask him to stop using online dating and just go out there. I'm sure he'll find it easier to find a good woman to date in real life.
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
I don't think so, sir.
I don't think so. Now, again, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with matching up with a woman after she's gone out and had her fun, but the guys, in most cases, haven't had their fun. They've never been given that opportunity. And then they're expected to just kind of settle down and get right into it. And if a guy wants a traditional woman, then he's shot down for that. And I actually have a story about that I'm going to do next here, which is NFL star quarterback Cam Newton. He's shamed for wanting a traditional woman. And I'm going to do that story next, so make sure to check that out. But, yeah, you know, it's not any easier when you get out there. So what are men to do? It's the same thing I've always said. Either work really hard to get in great physical shape, and I don't mean just being healthy. I mean, like, you've got to have muscles. You've got to get to beefcake point, right, where you can walk around in a tight T-shirt and get women's attention. You need to be funny. You need to be interesting. You need to maybe flash a little bit of money or have that Rolex or the nice watch or set your side apart from everybody else. The problem is women don't have to do that. We've got it because it used to be that a woman would keep herself chaste and dedicate herself to one man, and she'd say, I will give you my gift, my little flower bud. I will give you that. And you will be the only person that has that, and I will be a loving, doting, kind, caring woman to take care of you and be by your side through thick and thin, and you give me a nice home, and all that's gone. Now guys still have to be the I'll give you all these things and provide for you and make sure you feel safe and comfortable, and I'll be by your side. And she says, well, here's my Here's my beat up ham sandwich. It's not so much a flour anymore. And I mean that figuratively, not literally, for those of you ladies that want to yell at me. But they're not bringing anything unique to the table anymore. And if a woman says, look, I've had a lot of partners, and a guy says, maybe I've had quite a few partners, but I don't make very much money. And, I'm only average. If a woman said, hey, you know what? I'm kind of average now too. Maybe we got something. Then we could at least have that conversation. But when a woman's acting, like she's God's gift to everybody, and she's got a high body count, and maybe she is successful. That doesn't matter to men. She's got a high body count. She's questionable. She texts or is online dating or online on social media getting validation. She has lots of guy friends and all this other stuff. But then she says to him, well, to date me, you have to have a high income and be good looking and stay. The two do not match up. And so the expectations are all screwed up. All right, let's, if you're on YouTube, join me on betterbachelor.locals.com. That's where I'm going to do the dating profiles of the day because YouTube hates me.